it is done. What did what did I say the last time I was here recording? Sometimes there is a man. In this week's episode, sometimes there is a movie. Welcome to Conversations with me, Carlz, the only show that I know of where the host takes previously stated ideas in a different language, gives them a week or maybe two to marinate, and then tries to convey them in the second language, this case being English. So it seems that the topic itself is fitting, since in this week's episode I'm gonna be talking about a movie that is highly affected by the phenomenon, you can call it, of translating. It's weird. Of course, I'm talking about one of the hit movies of the last year, right? 2024, Emilia Perez. As a brief summary, is the story of this trans woman that used to be drug dealer, right? And then she transitions, and then she tries to come back to take back the reins of her life. So a little bit of background about me and the movie. So I had no idea that the movie existed, like none at all. Like I'm not that caught up into like whatever is new or whatever, but it started making like its rounds around the award times, right? It became making like a lot of noise about like this really like awarded movie, like that it was supposed to be really good. Still, even then I had no real like desire to see it. I had no interest. I didn't even know what it was about, right? I didn't even know about the memes. So one of my dear friends, who was my co-host or my guest during my Spanish version of this show, he asked me to watch it, right? He was like, "Can you watch this movie and can we talk about this movie?" And I went like, "Okay." So he warned me a little bit. Him being member of part of the queer community, right? And this movie being, I don't know, like that's another disclaimer I have to do. I don't have that much like authority to talk about queer issues in general, not even like trans people or anything. So if I make a mistake, I ask for previous forgiveness. A disclaimer of forgiveness. So he went and said, like, watch this movie. Like, is well, the way he introduced it, he said it's funny. It's funny. It's a funny movie. Watch it. So I went like completely naked to see this movie, like not knowing anything about it. And of course, the first thing that shows in the movie, and that sort of like created whatever idea I could create from it, was the fact that the movie was a musical, right? Is a musical. And that in itself, it's a topic for me, right? I'm not a fanatic of musicals in movie form. I certainly enjoy musicals live, and I think they're great. But there's a reason for that. I'm not gonna talk about like some sort of, I don't know, like deliberation on the metaphysics of theater or anything. Not that I know of that subject, but I'm not gonna talk about it. But when the musicals are on stage, right, and you are like seeing it, it's sort of like magical, right? It's awkward, but it's also magical, and it's fun because like you have to imagine most of the things, right? Like I don't know, you have like a big boat or like a scene from the past, and You just have to transport yourself to whatever situation you're watching, which is also always fun. But when that same thing translates into movies, it doesn't really translate properly. And this is something that I've always struggled with, because musicals, by the way they are made, they sort of like have this break with reality, right? And what do I mean with this? Like if I'm doing a musical about, I don't know, I was gonna say like the butcher guy, but that's a thing that actually exists, and that arguably crappy movie, Sleepy. No, no, Sleepy. I was gonna say Sleepy Hollow. The well, the one about the butcher with oh, Alan Rickman was in that. But okay, so you take an everyday situation, and if you turn it into a musical, it seems that it gives you a free pass to do magical situations or like break reality. So if I'm going to the supermarket and I sort of like begin to sing, right, and dance, of course that gives you a right to sort of dissociate with reality and maybe do things that are not necessarily attached to said reality. And to me, in movies, that's sort of a thing that I always question. It's right there with like explicit sex or like explicit violence. Depends a lot on the context. So, for example, if you see like a Disney movie, and most of the better Disney movies, they have these musical numbers in the precise exact moments where you need them, right? It's sort of like the magic of crafting a good musical. Like the music number should not break the reality of what you're watching, but it should like enhance it somehow. So back in my Spanish episode, the first two Disney movies that came to my mind were Hunchback and Moana, right? And how well placed the musical numbers are there. So if we go back to Emilia Perez and why this is important, is that the subject matter of Emilia Perez is not, how can you say, it's not something that you want to break away from. It's not something that it gets necessarily enhanced by the magic and fantasy of musicals. So again, this is a completely spoilerful conversation as always. So in Emilia Perez, if you see like the first number where like the protagonist, I'll keep forgetting the names, but if you've seen the movie, you know who I'm talking about, right? The Gamora lady. So she's the lawyer in the whole situation, right? And one of the first musical numbers, she's like working on a case, like in a street food vendor type like neighborhood in Mexico, and she breaks into song and like it hits you like a truck. There are two facts that hit you like a truck. One, how odd musicals seem to be in that situation. Like doesn't really seem to enhance or create any special circumstance. You could say like, okay, I'm gonna do a musical about like a lawyer that helps a drug dealer transition into womanhood. Okay, so let's do musical numbers about it. Which moments would you choose? So at the beginning they choose the moment where she's on the street, and like what do they really do with the musical numbers? It's strange. It's like what is the point? Like if we go back to Moana, when she makes the big musical number, right when she sings "How Far I'll Go," it's the exact precise moment where you need the song, right? Like she's struggling, and like she's like, okay, I want to leave this island, right? I feel the call of the ocean, and right at that moment, poof, she breaks into song. But in Emilia Perez, they choose the weirdest moments to break into song, awkward moments, and even the musical numbers are like uneven. Like while some of them are just songs, some of them have like choreography, and it's like super strange. So even though musicals are supposed to have this free pass to break with reality. At the same time, Emilia Perez, I don't want to say does it wrong, but like it leaves you like an awkward feeling and taste in your mouth. And to that, you add the fact that not only the numbers are weird, not only they are placed in random situations. Here we have like one of the main complaints about it. I'm not a native speaker of English, right? So I'm aware of how you need to change whatever you want to say to make it sound right. And with right, I don't mean like grammar or like, no, I just mean like to communicate, right? That's the whole point of talking, right? Communicate. And Emilia Perez like just botches this in the worst way possible. It's like if Spanish is your first language, or if you speak Spanish in sort of in a natural way, the songs are just awkward, and like the dialogue is like so strangely written that it doesn't sound natural. And I don't think that you can excuse the lack of proper Spanish by either explaining that they are not Mexican, like the protagonists are like Americans, or American something, like the other ladies from Spain, like whatever the case, right? And like either they're playing Mexican or whatever, right? Which is gonna be the second point of the argument, right? The songs in Spanish are so awkward and straight up bad that you just have to wonder why the fuck are they in Spanish. Like, I do have like the cojones or like the personality like to do a show in English, let's say, even though it's not my first language, and even I want to say that I speak a fairly decent English, but it's not my first language. So every time I have to do an episode, I do go through my thoughts a lot, because I wanna be able to say something that makes sense, right? Even though I'm not singing it. And by God, there are some bad songs in Emilia Perez. They are just bad. They sound, and this is a conclusion that has not changed since my Spanish episode. It's something that just sticks with me and stuck with me, and it's probably gonna be there with me until this movie like becomes part of the Criterion collection or some shit like that, right? The song seems Google translated. The songs do not sound natural, and I don't think there is anyone that is a native Spanish speaker or that speaks Spanish that could argue otherwise. These songs are awkward as hell. They are like, they sound bad, and like regardless of the performances, they cannot be saved by the fact that this is a musical and we're supposed to be experiencing something magical. Like, even in dramatic moments, right? One of the first songs by the Spanish lady, right? Not the Gamora lady, the other lady, is when they take the lawyer lady hostage. They take her to the back of a truck where this drug dealer sort of comes out to her, right? As a trans person. And she goes like, I need you to help me to transition. Okay, whatever. But they do this awful musical number because this lady cannot sing for her life. She cannot sing. And again, my voice is not the voice of an angel, right? The best thing that I've gotten is that I sound like Victor from League of Legends. And she's such a bad singer, and that is it's so awkward. It's like we're gonna try to show this really dramatic, intense moment, which in a normal musical setting should be enhanced by the song we are crafting, either by its music or by its lyrics, right? And then she starts singing, and it's so bad. Like, it makes you feel bad, right? Because the subject matter of the movie is so important that you want to feel these things. You want to feel these things proper. Like you don't want to make light mood of the tragedy. The tragedy itself, it's okay. I mean, it like a drug dealer that needs to transition, and well, I think that's a proper segue to the second idea, which I discussed with my friend during my Spanish episode, which was the idea of representation, right? To him was rather important because he's really related to the local queer art scene. Like his husband is related to all the scene and everything. So he had a unique perspective on it that, of course, I do not have as a random cis male with no hair, right? Just some bald random guy. But like we talk about two major strains of representation, right? One is the obvious one, the queer one, right? This is supposed to be a trans woman. And the second one is the cultural one. So, talking, of course, with respect about the first part, like we went into this discussion about whether Emilia Perez's character was like a real sort of queer representation in film, right? Beyond the mere fact that this is a trans woman, right, and the fact that her transition is part of the plot of the movie, beyond that, it seems that this is fake. Perhaps it's a strong word, but this is like hey Gio, this is a Twitch break. Look like I have a suit. No, it's just a t-shirt. What was I talking about? Okay, trans representation, like a really soft subject matter, right? So is Emilia Perez's character an honest or like a useful representation of a spectrum of the queer community? So my friend, who is part of the queer community, he said no, right? He said no because like they don't really talk about representation in the movie. And the movie is not really about representation. The movie is about drama. So it seems that these are all dramatic elements that work towards creating dramatic situations in the movie. And me, as just a bald guy, cis bald guy, you can say that's the. I don't think that's. I was gonna say something that it's cancel worthy, so I'm not gonna say it. But me as a cis male, I sort of tend to agree as far as I can. For example, feel like I need to rephrase that. Like when I watch things that are supposed to be representing different genders or different cultures that are not my own, there are two things that you can see this is working. One is that it makes you uncomfortable, right? Like if you're not part of a minority or a community and this movie or documentary is about that, you should feel some sort of discomfort because it challenges you as a norm, right? It's supposed to be challenge you as member of the normative group. Does this movie does that from a gender's perspective? No, it doesn't, right? Because what makes you uncomfortable is the awkward language and the weirdly placed music pieces. There's a like a memed out. I don't know if that's an expression, memed out, because it has been so memed to the hell, right? There's one musical scene where the lawyer lady goes to Thailand, of all places. Talking about stereotypes, right? Let's do some fair representation. I'm gonna look for the best doctors to make a man transition into a woman, right? And to go to Thailand. Ooh, or super original. But regardless, in that musical piece, they start talking about genitalia like if it was nothing. They go like, "Oh, so you want a penis? I'm gonna give you now. I'm gonna give you a vagina." Ha ha ha. And my friend talked about that scene and how fun, how laughable it was to him, because it doesn't seems to be an exercise on representation. It seems to be, on the contrary, it almost feels like the opposite, right? Like ridiculizing the situation. It doesn't feel serious, and that goes to almost every aspect of representation in Emilia Perez. Like, if we jump towards what is the cultural representation of Latin, if you want to say Latinx, whatever you want to say, Latino culture, does it do that? Is this a fair representation of? We know that Mexico, it's a fact, right? That Mexico has like important issues with like drug dealers and like all of that crime scene of like drugs in general, right? We know it, but this shit has been dramatized to the infinite. You can probably find a million better movies that either dramatize or make a commentary on Mexico's criminal reality. But here there are like missing pieces that are key, and they are like directly interconnected. So this is a musical that seems to dramatize traditional dramatic points of the story instead of ones that are actually useful, either to show Emilia Perez's struggles with her transition, or criticizing Mexico's either corruption or crime reality, right? The only musical piece that it really has a focus on that is this one where like the lawyer lady. Why do I keep forgetting her name, even though I'm looking at a picture of her, right? The lawyer lady, the Gamora lady. I'm really bad with names, but that's not the point of the discussion, right? There's only one musical number in the whole movie that is sort of like a criticism, and I think that was the song that was nominated for an Oscar, right? Where like this lady sort of like stops time, like she's in a gala, and she started like making fun of it, like, "Oh, you're here for the money. You are corrupt. You are corrupt. You are here for the money. Like you're fake. Your smile is fake. You whatever. Everything you do is fake." And it seems so out of place. Is this really a commentary? Because it doesn't really seem to affect her character at all. Like she starts like this. She's not like a low level lawyer, but like she's not the best lawyer either, right? So she starts like a lawyer, and like then like she gets involved with the drug dealer, and you never really get a musical number that either like makes you feel her change of heart towards Emilia Perez's character, or the system that it's allowing her to do this. So they all seem like missed opportunities of representation. Like there's a couple of them that are good. There's this one small musical number where Emilia Perez is interacting with her son, and they sort of like sing a little bit how they both need each other, and how they sort of have this emotional connection even though they don't know their mother and son. See, I almost fucked it up there. But once again, it's just destroyed by the awkwardness of the performances and of the writing, and it just nothing works. Like another musical number that is related to when later Emilia Perez makes this foundation to help the people that previously as a man and as a drug dealer, he would affect, right? There's a little like musical number about that, and it also falls into like, thank you, Mitch. It also falls into deaf ears because you know it's so fucked up the fact that she doesn't sing about her change of heart. Like she never does. So there are all like these moments of misrepresentation, but instead, what do we get? We get this like this weird number with the lady, like the Selena Gomez. I remember her name at least. Is it Selena? Well, that the American lady, right? We get this awkward number of her like, oh, like I want my money, I want my money, I want my money. Where are the musical numbers completely focused on like, I don't know, how important it is to feel like yourself, right? Like or something that explains the character's emotions when she finally realizes that not only she lived a fake life as a man, but she lived a life that she didn't want to have as a drug dealer, as a provider, as a person that did violence to the world. It's just impossible to see that and think that it's somehow other, nothing other than just like the this which it actually is, right? This is I think was written by a French guy. It's just some foreign guy using these platforms to create a piece of art that is gonna appeal to another section of art lovers like himself, and the people that catapulted this movie into the award-winning film that ended up being, right? Google translating songs into Spanish, a language that he doesn't talk, and like I don't know how did anyone not review these songs and said they sound so weird. Choosing a cast that cannot sing except for the Gamora lady. She's I think she's the only good character and actress in the movie. Oh no, the Mexican lady, the one that they do like who is Emilia Perez's partner later. But man, it's just one thing after the other. So by the end of the movie, which leads me to the final idea or guiding principle of tonight's episode, is that the movie is highly cringeworthy. It, there's not another way to put it. Like I agreed with my friend back when I did the Spanish episode. How cringy this movie is. And I think it's related to that fact that even though you are not a musician, you can say, I'm not a musician. I'm not like a stage play writer. I'm not an actor. I'm just a person that likes and enjoy these works of art. If at every stage of this movie you don't feel emotion, but you feel this awkward feeling of cringe, right? How is that a good thing? How is that a good movie? How is that an Oscar-worthy movie? You know, I've yet to read, especially either a review either from a native Spanish speaker or like a member of the trans community that sees some real worth in this movie. As I said, it fails in representation, it fails musically. Like, I don't know why the hell did they make the Gomez girl talking freaking Spanish. Like, it made no sense. It made no sense because the characters themselves in the movie they all spoke English. So the argument was her Spanish is not that good because she grew up in the U.S. or something like that. I think that was part of the deal, right? But then why the hell doesn't she just speak in English? Why did they make her speak this awkward, broken, terrible Spanish? So the idea of cringeness, cringe-worthy, however you want to say it, is palpable in the movie because it takes you out. It takes you out of everything. It takes you out like every intense emotional movie led by Emilia Perez's character is completely shattered the moment she starts singing. I'm I'm not gonna be like overly criticizing her acting or like pretending that I'm like a better actor, not a better singing. Though I love singing, I'm not gonna pretend I'm any special thing, sing worthy or something, whatever. But like, don't tell me you couldn't find a trans woman that could sing, man. That can't be true. That can be the reason why they casted this movie so poorly. Not again, not acting worthy, right? But to have people that do the job they're supposed to do, they sing properly and act and everything, it just doesn't work. And and I guess the worst thing about it is that the movie did so well. Like at the end of the day, I didn't hate the movie. I gotta be honest. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but it was frustrating trying to see on it whatever it is all these award people saw in it. Because as I said at the beginning, if you're a native speaker of Spanish, there's no way in hell these songs made sense to you. And like you can find probably 1 million or like 2 million or like if you're in like in a big country like Mexico or Argentina 17-20 million people that could come up with better songs. So by the end of the movie, the thing that I felt the most was that like who's that gorgeous man in a suit? Me. Like, I couldn't believe this movie had so many awards. I couldn't believe it's supposed to be good. You know, like in everything are opinions, right? Everything is an opinion. You can have whatever opinion you want, but I like, of course, you can hate the Oscars. You can hate whatever award show or all of these people that arbitrarily choose whatever is good and whatever is bad. You are completely free to hate on it. But it's always standard. And even though you're not a member of the academy, not like a big scholar in cinema or whatever, right? I myself, I always feel like pressure. I always feel pressure to not necessarily like what is supposed to be like a really good film or whatever, right? Not to like it, but like to see in it something that is special. To see in it something that sort of like, I don't know, it has to be special. Like there are like 1 million movies coming out every year, right? And like somehow this one gets all the awards? Really? A chat break, some of them doesn't even watch the movie that they watch. Yeah, that's true. But I always say that whatever lack of confidence or like mistrust you can have in the academy, that's just like conspiracy theory mindset, right? Because in the end it's irrelevant whether they see the movies or like whether they do it for money, whatever, right? that's irrelevant because all of that is a mystery. We don't know what happens behind the scenes. All we know that if a movie gets an Oscar, or if a movie gets nominated, or if a movie gets recognized by these institutions, all we know that it's setting a standard. That is setting a standard, and like they are the elite movies. That's what we know. We can't know anything beside that, but we can know that this is a standard. So either we embrace the fact that this standard is complete BS, and like they are like arbitrarily picking these movies and like making them, for whatever reason they do it, and make them be the standard, or like we can try to see in these movies whatever makes them be part of this or set standard in the first place, right? Another Twitch break. I don't know where I heard it, but I learned that Kristen Dunst is one of the few that watches the nominated movie, or that she tries. Kristen Dunst. But as I said, that's irrelevant. The point is, going back to Emilia Perez, I think that whatever stance we take on it as being part of the elite movie creation of the past year, however we want to see the Oscars or like whatever award ceremony, it's irrelevant. Whatever stance you take on it, there's no way in hell you can accept this as being an elite movie for pretty obvious reasons. It's a musical where the songs are bad. It's a musical where the singers are bad. It's an attempt of representation where the Mexicans are not Mexicans, and the queer people don't engage in their queerness, or they don't make their queerness part of the story they are telling. And so my friend in Spanish episode, he felt compelled to talk about the ending of the movie, right? Where they so by the end of the movie, Emilia Perez's former wife, played by the Gomez girl, they conspire against her for money, like really deep and meaningful topics, right? They conspire against her for money, and in the end, they all end up dying. Like the ending itself is so shitty too, right? They go rescue Emilia Perez, who was kidnapped by her former wife, to get the ransom for her for money. But in the final shootout between the forces of evil, or like the kidnappers and the guys that are coming to rescue them, led by Zoe Saldana. Whoa, I remember. Led by the forces of like just on another gangster, like the former gangsters of Emilia Perez, but now led by Zoe Saldana. They come to rescue her, right? They're shooting each other, like boom, 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 boom. And and Emilia Perez start singing moments of her previous life as a man to her former wife, and like she asked for forgiveness, right? She's like, "Oh, forgive me, like I never wanted to hurt you." So there are like basic problems with this shit. One, and my friend introduced me to this idea, and it stuck with me. Wouldn't it be better that we had actually seen in the movie, either via talking or via song, Emilia Perez and her ex-wife reaching some sort of like, not necessarily agreement, not necessarily some magic moment where they fix everything, but reaching an emotional understanding on how important it was for Emilia to become who she really is, and for her to realize that there's still love between them. Wouldn't that have been a better moment where they could have shared not only a comment on representation, but an emotional moment between people that love each other? Because in the climax of the movie, when Emilia reveals herself to her former wife, she immediately forgives her, because whatever situation that happened between them, they loved each other at some point. So she asks for forgiveness and she forgets her, but everything happens so fast that blah, like they're like going into the car, and like the Selena Gomez character, she goes like, stop, 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 blah. So she moves the car and they go off the cliff and the car explodes like if it was like an episode of The Simpsons or something, right? The car goes like blah, and explodes in flames and whatever. That shit is funny. That shit is funny. The movie that never reaches a moment where you're like so like entranced or like empathetic with the characters, with their plight or whatever they're suffering. It just ends in a big ball of fire, like fucking Back to the Future Part 3. Just fucking explodes and it's over. But then you get like a bunch of Mexican people on the street making Emilia Perez like a saint. Why? Because she chose to help people? Like, do they even know about her past? Do they even know that she turned a life of crime into like a life of helping others? Do they even know? Like, why wouldn't they do that for every other like people that go out and help other people? Like Emilia Perez in the movie just seems to have like an infinite amount of money, like just to do whatever the fuck she wants because she has money, and somehow she's a saint. And she's the saint. Why? Are we making her a saint? Like recognizing the importance of her transition into womanhood? No, because it's not like fully in the movie. Is it because of her helping other people? No, there's probably a million millionaires that help other people too. We don't make all of them saints. Why? What? Why is she so special? You know? And I think at the end of the day, she's not. And neither is this movie. For the good reasons, right? Of course, it's special for the wrong reasons. The wrong reasons being that, hell, what is in the core itself, the movie is bad. The core of a musical is the songs, and they are all so shitty. Like a core of the musical is using the musical expression to enhance the dramatic narrative that you want to do, but the songs are so awkward that you don't accomplish that, right? In the core of a representation movie, either by representing another culture or like something important as the queer community, in the core of it should be their experiences as a culture itself. So you should embrace that, you should uplift that. But the movie doesn't do that either. Like one of the important musical scenes in it is just a joke about penises and vaginas. So it's like it's that contrast, right, at the end, about something that is supposed to be good and about something that is supposed to be meaningful, but no pun intended, it falls in deaf ears because like you don't get what the fuck you're watching. Like it doesn't help at all. I don't think, even though I said that I didn't hate this movie, I don't think it had any redeeming qualities. at all. Like I don't. At the end of the day, I don't see why it's so good. And when you make yourself that question, immediately you go like, am I the one that is wrong? Like, is it because I'm not a member of a queer community? Like, I am Latino and my Spanish is my first language, so at least I can vouch for the fact that the songs suck and they are like poorly written, because I've heard awesome songs in Spanish that they don't sound like shit. You see? So at the end of the day, and closing up a bit like today's monologue, I think it goes to show that the whole system it has to depend on you. It has to. Whether you are a member of a queer community, whether you are like a great musician or whatever, like you have to challenge these works. You have to because it can. We as native Spanish speakers, we cannot allow this to be the gold standard of Spanish spoken musicals. We can't, because it blows. Right? Like, I'm glad that I saw this movie for that reason alone. To have an opinion and to be able to say this allegedly really good, famous, and awarded movie, at least in one of its main aspects, its songs, it fucking sucks. My argument or my support is thousands and millions of better Spanish songs that have been written throughout the ages. So I think that's the only final conclusion or idea that I can provide, and that I get from thinking about this movie, and that I get from reflecting on this subject. That no matter how many awards something has, regardless of the people that voted for it saw it or not, you have to watch it. If at any degree or level this work of art is supposed to represent either a smidge of your personality, in this case is our Latino-ness, if you want to say it, or like our identity as Spanish speakers, you gotta challenge it. Because this cannot be the image. This cannot be, because ultimately I think at best is a mediocre movie, and at worst is a fundamentally wrong movie in the most important aspects of what it is supposed to be. A musical about a queer woman in a dire situation due to the cultural circumstances that determine her culture as an alleged Mexican and as a trans woman. Which honestly sucks. It sucks. And well, at least in a sense, I'm not gonna forget this movie soon, because whenever I close my eyes, I could hear her beautiful singing when she goes like, "Ah!" like wailing, "Help me!" It doesn't even translate good to English. Like, it's so funny in Spanish, it's so fucked up, and it sounds so bad that I wonder if you say in Spanish, like when she goes like, "Forgive me," and she goes like, "Perdóname, forgive me." Yeah, I think it sounds equally ridiculous, and that goes to show that when something is poorly written, you can sing it in Spanish, English, or Klingon. it's gonna suck anyways. So, as always, whatever you are generous enough to hear me talk, in whatever circumstance it is, thank you so much. And if you are a Spanish speaker, I do recommend to watch this movie, because at least you're gonna get a good laugh out of it. And laughter is the best medicine? I don't know. But it always does more good than bad. At least that's what I believe. Thank you for listening to me again. And nos vemos. Nos vemos next time. Bye bye.